Yes, we have some difference makers tonight. We'd like to represent difference makers, or folks in our community and in our school systems that are making a difference with our students and to experience student success. So that's at the end of the day, we're here for students. And so starting out, we have in our learning pillar with our 3 pillars of learning, partnership, and stewardship, Lori, Ross, and Sue Haugen, if you guys would like to introduce your difference maker.
Sue will be presenting.
There we go, Sue.
So I'd like to introduce you to April Simon, our difference maker for Moral Heights. Step on up there, girlfriend. All right. So April is a kindergarten teacher at Moral Heights. This is your fifth year in the district. Came to us with experience, but since she arrived at Moral Heights, has been a great addition to our staff. Does so much to meet the needs of students, and that's been recognized with not 1, 2, but 3 different difference maker awards, recognitions or nominations here just in the last month. So wanted to share some of those with you, some from parents and one from a colleague. Ms. Steinman has taught 2 of my children kindergarten now. She is a very sweet teacher and sends home additional practice for students to continue to practice skills. The practice allows the parents to engage with children to support the same goals. I appreciate the extra effort she makes for her students. Ms. Steinman's absolute calling was to teach kindergarten. I think that's pretty well said. Those who know April know the true story. She loves and teaches the children as if they are her own. My student is doing reading, writing, and math at a very complex level, and she loves to go to school each day. My daughter would tell you that aside from her mama, Miss Steinman is her favorite person. And then from a colleague, I've worked with April for 3 years now, and I could not imagine a better teammate. From the beginning, she has guided me, taught me, and supported me. I have learned so much from her these past 3 years, and I thoroughly enjoy working with her every day. And so what you hear from that, what I hope you hear from that, is the difference that April makes with students, with families, with colleagues, and really with our whole school community. So Moral Heights is thrilled to recognize April Simon as the difference maker.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There we go. Sue, you can stay here.
Sorry, my bad.
I think that's the first time she sang through that.
I was
one.
going to say, singing for
We
that.
know, right?
And in our partnership pillar, Dr. Schindorf, I believe you have someone you'd like to introduce. Mr. Kelch. Okay, welcome.
All right, I'd like to introduce Miss Amanda McCutcheon. She is a 6th grade ELA teacher at Thomas Jefferson Middle School. Community member, Mr. Frank Wright, nominated her for partnership, and this is what he had to say about Amanda. I've been an able volunteer reading tutor at Thomas Jefferson Middle School for the past 5 years. I've been quite impressed by Ms. McCutcheon's interest in her students and her involvement with Able. She takes the time to personally make observations, recommendations to help better each student that she tutors. And by the way, there's 44 of them. The process of improving the reading skills of a young middle school student is essential if they are to have any hope of success later in life. I always look forward to contacts and suggestions from Amanda. It is very pleasant to be considered as part of a team dedicated to upgrading the reading skills of 6th grade students. And with that, I'd like to present Ms. McCutcheon the Difference Maker Award for Partnership.
And I might just add before we go and recognize our last difference makers, Sean had mentioned 44 students that we tutor that she facilitates and oversees at Thomas Jefferson. We had 30 as a school district last year between TJ and LC. This year, LC is 26, 44 at TJ for a total of 70. So we've gone from 30 to 70, which is great. and I attribute to Amanda and your hard work. So thank you for making a difference there. So, okay, our last one in our stewardship, Bridget Frank wants to recognize our nurses in recognition of National School Nurse Day on May 8th. So Bridget, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So I'll ask all of our school nurses to come up and join me so they can see your smiling faces while I tell everyone a little bit about our school nurses. So, as Larry said, our National School Nurse Day was May 8th. And so our school nurses are instrumental in the identification and referral to community resources for health risk, and often are the only professionals who see students on a regular basis.
Come up here.
We won't lie.
We're pretty nice.
So school nurses are responsible for a variety of tasks, such as significantly decreasing the amount of days missed due to health concerns, managing students with chronic conditions such as diabetes and seizures, and identifying and treating accidents and injuries. So if you ever doubt how hard our school nurses work and just how much they accomplish in a small school day, I wanted to share some information with you about some of their data and some of their statistics. So from August to April of this year, our school nurses have seen over 72,726 visits. 20 of these visits have resulted in a trip to an emergency facility. So of our student population of over 9,000 students, we have over 1,000 with asthma, over roughly 40 with life-threatening allergies, 86 students with seizures, and over 30 students with diabetes. And our school nurses help to make sure each and every one of those individual kids make it to school every day and are healthy and happy and ready to learn. So we appreciate them for all their hard work. I'm talking in here. Here, I'll fill it.
Tippy on your tippy toes.
Sit up on top of it.
I'm running out of notes here.
Hey, you can't see me, then I can't see you. Ready?
This is around the same way the United.
Breathe. Actually, very back there.
I can't see Good job.
And then I move on.
There we go. 1, 2, 3.
Stay there. Yeah.
Take your time. We got online. Seriously. Seriously. We don't sleep when we get home anyway. Neither I did. It's awesome.
Thank you to each and every one of you that we recognize tonight, but as we know, we have difference makers all across the board, and just everyone being here tonight, you're making a difference as one of our stakeholders that we are stronger together. So thank you again. You're free to leave if you so choose. You might miss something exciting, but we do understand if you want to leave. So
Stay for the fun.
thank you guys. There we go.
Exactly.
All right, you're sure?
It'll be in, Philip will have it in the paper.
I didn't do it.
No cake and punch?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure. I think we're ready for
Ready?
the consent.
Okay. We're going to move on to the consent agenda items. Everyone had time to go through those, and if so, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second?
Do we have any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, we are going to move on to reports and communications. And I believe Dr. Schindorf, you're up.
Okay, thank you. I would like to go through a few items and give some updates with some pieces that we've discussed in the past. I want to start with our, what we've been calling the cell phone policy, which is really the personal device policy. So one of the policies that you're going to be discussing tonight or later during the policy piece is policy EHBA, which is a supplemental policy for board review. It's a supplemental policy from MSBA that allows districts the flexibility of using personal devices in the classroom. upon, if it is approved, upon approval of EHBA, we would like to move forward then with creating or implementing the procedures for cell phone, or actually personal devices. And so just to remind you, this started, the board actually asked if we would collect some information from our staff to determine kind of how they felt about the personal devices. So I'll remind you, I believe I've shared this with you, but I'll remind you that we did send out a survey to our staff, and we received 553 responses from our staff, and here's what they said about personal devices. We asked them if they believed that allowing students to have cell phones in the classroom was a disruption to the classroom, and 95.1% said yes, it's a disruption. We asked them if they believe that students should be allowed to have their cell phones out during class time. 95.5% said no. We asked them if they believed that there was a need for cell phones to be used at any time during the instructional process. And 91.5 said no, there was no need for it, given that we provide the one-to-one with Chromebooks. We asked them, do you believe that students should be allowed to use cell phones in the hallway or other times like during lunch? And so this one came back as 50-50. 50% said yes and 50% said no. So, and then we asked if they believe that the JCPS should actually have a policy about personal device usage, and 92% yes. So overwhelmingly, we heard from our staff that cell phones are a distraction in the classroom. They don't believe there's a need for them to be in the classroom. There's about half and half whether or not we should allow kids to use them during passing and cafeteria time. Again, we heard back from 553 of those. That was 180 elementary staff, 150 high school, 136 middle school, and 12 from Nichols Career Center. So again, you'll be reviewing the policy tonight, EHBA, and again, if that policy is approved, all that policy does is it allows that devices for educational purposes. It allows us to consider personal devices for use in the building. It does not mandate or require that we do. It just gives us the flexibility to control whether they are or are not and when they are or not. So the policy just allows us flexibility. If it's approved, then we have to have what are the procedures, what are we going to expect kids to do with personal devices if they bring them to school. And so I believe I've shared this with you, but I have shared it with faculty council. I've shared it at ACDC with the principals, and we've discussed the language. And so the proposal will be, upon approving EHBA, that for preschool through 8th grade, through middle school, our policy will be that no cell phone devices will be used at any time during classroom instruction, during passing, during cafeteria. We understand that kids will still bring them to school, but our policy would require that they keep them stored either in a locker or backpack, somewhere put away, but they will not be allowed at any time during the school day. At the 9-12 level, we would allow cell phones to be used in flex times like during the cafeteria, during passing in the hallways, but at no time would cell phones be used in the classroom. So in general, no cell phone, no personal devices in the classrooms at any level, at any time. At the high school level, we would allow some flexibility, and I've spoken to both Ben and Bob, and they agree that allowing some use during cafeteria and hallway time is what they would prefer that we put in our expectations. With that, you also, another policy you're going to be reviewing this evening is JGR1, which is the discipline policy, if you will, and inside of that you'll see that there's some revisions to technology misconduct. And so any student who did not follow those expectations for what I just outlined to you then would fall under JGR1, which would outline what are the consequences for not following that policy, whether it's the first time, the second time, the third time. There are increasing consequences for the number of times that you violate that policy. So both of those policies you'll be discussing a little later this evening. So,
And I might just make a comment that we've asked a lot of our staff members and our teachers, is there anything that your school issued electronic device, as in Chromebook or iPad, whatever's the one-to-one that is a school issued device, is there anything that it cannot do that your cell phones can in the educational process? And we've not had from ballpark guess 80 different staff members that there is nothing that the cell phones will do that our Chromebook or school-issued device will not do. So we feel confident that they will have an electronic device that is issued by the school, that there will not be a need as a part of the educational process for our cell phones. So just a little.
Brian, just to clarify, so if we adopt a policy and the procedures are put in place, so is it accurate to say that the discipline guidelines, though, will be administered district-wide and will be consistent across the board in every building and every grade level?
Yes, so we take JGR 1, which is the policy, and we pull that matrix out, because they talk about every offense, that not just technology, but every offense that could be done, assault, disrespect, and we have a matrix that we create, and we follow the policy, and that is a matrix that's followed across the district. It's a district-wide expectation. Now, I can't tell you that if a child does it at one school and does it at another, and they go in the principal's office, and a principal might confiscate a phone, or a principal might have a conference, or a principal might call a parent. Is it always exactly the same? No, but we certainly would not want first offense that someone gets suspended from school at one school, and the other one they just get a conference with mom and dad. We would want them to follow the consequence scale that we have.
I think that's the part that we're struggling with, though, is the consistency. Student A does the same thing that student B does, and they get two different. And I think we need to be really, really clear. Elementary, this is what we're going to do. Whether it's a vault, I think at the middle schools they're using a phone vault or whatever, but we need to make sure that it's crystal clear and consistent. I think even as a parent, that's my frustration, is that the consistency is just not there.
I will tell you that the staff's biggest concern is our ability to follow through on the expectation. This is at least at the secondary level, this is a complete change for what we currently do. And it is going to be, there are going to be some hurdles to get past to get our students to a place where they'll follow that. And so the staff expressed a lot of concerns in the comments that they gave about, will administration hold the line with these policies and procedures, or is it just going to be another thing that we say is nice but it doesn't really happen, or they get away with it, or there's no consequences, the phones aren't. So absolutely, our staff feel the same way, and we have numerous conversations at the administrative level that is going to be our biggest hurdle. All I can tell you that today, that we have consistency in the expectations of principals and what they're saying they will do. Our jobs, Gary, Lori, myself, will be to hold principals accountable when we're not following the expectation that we do what we said we're going to do. And just know up front that we anticipate at the beginning of next year probably dealing with a lot of discipline issues with cell phones. We anticipate that, but I also believe that it's the right thing to do, and I believe if we do it right, we'll get past this phase of people being a little grumbly.
I think it's a step in the right direction. You set the expectation from the get-go, and
I believe
all
we
100%.
communicate. I think one of our biggest things is up front communicating clearly with students and parents before day one, so that they know when they walk in the building next year, this is what's going to be expected. And again, then the consistency of the repercussions, I think, will be really critical.
Yeah, Ryan and I spoke to this morning also. So if it is approved, if the policies get approved, then what we'll do is begin working on a communication piece that will go out to our patrons, to our moms and dads, and to students, because we don't want to wait till August to tell people.
No, of course not.
So we'll certainly do that.
Communicate.
Yeah.
Who will be involved in creating the procedures that will follow the policies?
So the procedures, you talk about the consequences or the
Everything.
So I've already written the language for the handbook, meaning here's what it's going to sound like in your handbook. Here's what mom and dad's going to read. Here's what the students are going to read. I've already created that, and I've shared that out with faculty council, with principals, and said, read it, and can you all live with it, or any concerns? To date, there's not been a single concern.
Okay.
They're happy with the language, and so the language is kind of what I just described to you. In terms of the consequences, that's not something we make up. That is going to be policy JGR that you're going to discuss tonight, and if it's approved, that's the policy we will follow. That's the policy I will expect principals to follow.
Great.
And we also anticipate the biggest challenge, I think, going into is at the middle school level, because of not allowing them to use them, which there's quite a bit of use of that. So we recognize that, but we want consistency in between buildings, because right now it's not consistent between our middle schools. So that's something that we want to try to have consistencies with both of them. So.
Is Lewis and Clark, I've heard that they kind of have a little more of a lockdown cell phone policy at that school. How's it working over there, do we know?
So we asked that question, and if you ask the staff, at least the staff I've spoken to, and with the administration, they say that it works. And so my question to them was, yeah, but really, how many kids are getting on their phone and doing, the things that, and staff members say it really does not happen. We've got an environment, it's been going on, this is year 3, so in 3 years, we've kind of trained them that it is not allowable. Now, does that mean kid goes by his locker and opens up the locker and he checks his checks or whatever? They know that kind of stuff's happening, but the rule is, if it's not causing the disruption, then we're not going to have cell phone police or monitoring the halls and catching kids who are in their locker, because the rule is they can't be out, can't be present, can't be visible, can't be in the classroom, and they're following those rules. So LC.
Do they have set consequences if a kid is caught with their phone?
They
What
do.
makes LC so unique in what they're doing?
What makes them unique is that as a staff, they came together and said, we need this to happen, and they had an administrator who said, then we're gonna do it, and they got the support of their administrator, which goes back to the concern of the other schools who are saying, well, we have the same thing. Yes, but they would tell you that's why it's been successful. I asked one of the teachers, so how often are kids being sent to the office because of violation of cell phones? He said it's a rare thing. It's a rare thing. That was his opinion.
So both middle schools were on board with no cell phones in passing or at lunch?
Both of them were given the opportunity to offer any suggestions or changes, and neither one of them did. I can tell you that LC is absolutely on board. This is their policy now, so they're on board. Honestly, if you look at TJ's handbook now, it says that no cell phones in classrooms. Their handbook states now, they just don't follow the rule.
Oh. Can't do that anymore.
And that's on us to make sure that they carry that out.
Yeah.
Our district-wide staff, am I correct on 95% of our staff? Did you say that earlier? 95% of our staff said the cell phones are a distraction in the learning environment. So that's, we feel is consistent.
Yeah, I think this is a good move for our staff. It's what they're asking for, and I think if we can help them, and if we can reduce disruptions in the classroom, then it's a good decision.
Sure.
cell phones-
Consistency is just,
Yeah.
across the board. Every
Cell
school.
phones now are what passing notes was back in the 80s, and you were always scared the teacher was going to read your note. So that's how you self-regulate.
The only difference is you can lock your cell phone and they can't unlock it.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions about cell phones? Okay, I want to give you an update on our conversation from last month about social studies. I brought to you a curriculum for integrated Missouri studies, and the board discussed that and made the decision not to approve that curriculum and asked that I go back and speak with the social studies team. So we did that. We went back and met with the social studies team and had very open and honest conversations. I do want to remind you, though, that the intent originally when we were going down that road was to accomplish this. It was to create integrated courses which gave kids choice, because we've learned that they want choice, and we've learned that through what they've enrolled, what they've registered for. It was to put an emphasis on Missouri history and government that supports the Missouri assessments, and it was to remove the required 4 credits that we currently have. And so those were the initial concerns or initiatives that we were using that we wanted to accomplish. After talking to the social studies staff, we have 19 social studies teachers at the meeting. They were all there, but I believe 2 who couldn't make it. But we had a lengthy conversation about those criteria that we were trying to accomplish. And so they did propose that we do not do the integrated Missouri studies, but rather we create an integrated course with world history as opposed to Missouri studies, which would then require us to take the Missouri standards that we were going to put in Missouri studies and embed those into the U.S. history and U.S. government. Those teachers were there as well, the government and history teachers, and we asked them as well, are you comfortable with this? They are. They believe that many of those they already do and already cover now, so they didn't feel there'd be a significant change, but they were okay with if we went that route by embedding those standards into their curriculum. So the recommendation is that we create an integrated course with world history, that students will have the choice of taking a standalone world history or an integrated English and world history course. And that we would embed the Missouri work into the U.S. history and government. And so I can tell you that, I won't say 100%, but I would tell you that it seemed as though 100% in the room of the social studies teachers that were there are very pleased with that path and would entertain us moving in that direction. So as long as you're all okay, we have a group who's agreed to help us create that curriculum, because it's got to be written, and we would do that in the next 2 weeks, and I'd bring that for approval in the June board meeting.
Thank you for going back
Yeah.
to the drawing board on that. I appreciate it. I know the teachers do as well, so thank you.
Appreciate, and Brian, I appreciate
It's a lot of
his
work.
willingness and yeah, just going to our
Yeah,
staff
exactly,
and,
sure.
that's something we got do better at, and we did, and that's something we'll continue to grow and get better, and I appreciate your efforts on that.
Thanks, Brian.
Great.
Also, along that line is we've also been working on the changing the pacing for the 7-period day. And so to date, we have changed the pacing or fixed the pacing for 60 of the courses that needed to be changed. And so that work is done. The only pacing work that still will have to be done is when we come in and write when we do the U.S. history, the government, and the world history, we'll have to do repacing of those. But I'll bring those when we come in June. But just want you to know that the pacing work is done for the 7-period.
Can you tell me what pacing is?
Pacing is basically what you're teaching daily through a unit to get done. So for example, the pacing right now would say you're going to teach it within 80 minutes or 85 minutes.
Gotcha.
We had to change it to 50 minutes.
Okay.
So you teach it longer, stretched out, just the length of time.
Got it.
Yeah. So
Okay,
we've
thank
changed
you.
that pacing to align with a 7-period day, 50 minutes, 50-minute days. So that work is done.
Can I just make sure I understand, Brian? So 3 required history classes. Is that what you were saying here?
There will be next year. There are 4 this year.
Right, so 3. 1 will be U.S. history with Missouri integrated into it.
So 9th grade will be world history
Okay.
or integrated world history. You choose.
Okay, great.
All right. Then you'll go into U.S. history 10th, and you'll go into government 11th, and then there will not be a requirement for seniors. You can take an elective.
Great. But that Missouri piece will be tied into the U.S. history.
That'll get tied into the U.S. history and U.S. government.
To 10th grade.
And sophomore. or 10th
Yes.
grade, yeah.
So then they would take that Constitution test sometime in either sophomore or junior.
Thank you.
Yeah.
World history is so important, and thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
And I'll just tell you that I wish I would have got involved in the process a little bit sooner and listened a little better. But hey, we need to get better, and we'll
I
get
think
better.
we-
So,
Yeah. it's
If we,
awesome. Thank
like I
you.
say, if we're better because of the,
4 yards?
our experience, that's,
4 yards at a time.
yeah.
Okay, so that pacing is done, and we will bring those new courses to you then in June. Then lastly, we need to talk about the updated drug policy. Remember that we've been having conversations about eliminating the bulk testing. So the policy that we currently have is JFCI. And so if you read JFCI, there really is no changes required in JFCI in order for us to accomplish what we need to, because JFCI itself is really just an overarching policy that states you can have a program to meet OSHA standards and to accomplish a drug testing program. That's really all it says. It doesn't say anything about random or bulk testing or how often. It doesn't say anything about that in the policy itself. All the language that needed to be changed actually came in JFCI AP, which is the administrative procedures. So for tonight, you won't see that there's a JFCI in the policy piece because it doesn't need to be renewed. We actually, Stephanie checked with MSBA, and there is not an updated version. Our version is as updated as it needs to be, so there'll be no changes to policy JFCI for drug testing. The changes then would come in the administrative procedures. And so we've had administrative procedures. What we did was we went through and changed really 2 pieces to the administrative procedures. One is the old piece had a lot of language in there about the building designee, which may have worked when you had one high school, but since we're going to have 2, just saying that a building designee would be the person who, collects certain things, turn things in, that kind of stuff. Rather, we thought it was important that we change it to a district designee, because whoever's doing it at the building can be called a district designee as well as anybody from the central office. So it was a language change anywhere that it said building designee, we changed to district designee, which is not significant. And then in the administrative procedures, we've removed all language about bulk testing, since we would not be doing bulk testing. Those are really the only things that required for us to change to meet our new expectations. So we've removed that language from JCI AP, and Stephanie submitted that to MSBA for review. They've done that. And so here's what the new testing procedures look like. I believe Aaron's here. So Aaron, if this has been updated since we discussed, just let me know. So instead, we will not do bulk testing. Instead, what we'll do is what we're calling 7 cycles, 7 5-week cycles. So we'll be 2 in the fall, 3 in the winter, and 2 in the spring. Those will last 5 weeks each. We will test 40 students at each high school, which would be 80 each 5 weeks. So a total of about 560 students throughout the year would be random tested. Is that still where we're at, Aaron? Okay. So that's what, and the bulk testing would be eliminated, so.
There's still the opportunity to test one student more than once since they're random.
Is it as a system-generated selection?
It is a system-generated selection that's done through the company that does the testing. They're provided a number, not a name, and so they generate by number. They don't have names attached to it, and then they submit those back to us, and then we connect the number to the name. It is not done at our level.
Okay.
And there's absolutely no way that they know that this group of numbers is orchestra versus football versus, is it completely?
Well, I'm not on the inner workings of the mathematical side of it, but I do know that everybody's a number, so I don't know how you would know that.
Okay.
The same company, I don't know here, we had the same company in my previous district, and they didn't know whether it was orchestra or whether it was football athletics or activities. It was assigned based upon a number, and there could have the same students. It's like, well, it's random each time, so it could be the same, it could be somebody different, but it is random.
We generate the numbers, correct?
No, they're
Their
saying the
system
system
generates
generates
it,
the
and we
numbers.
assign it. So they generate the numbers, and then they've already been assigned. Just they'll say, hey, number 342, well, that's Lori Massman, okay, or whatever the number is.
I would pass.
And it is
The pool for fall, is the pool for fall going to be only students who are participating in fall sports or all year long sports?
Just all sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the policy talks about if you're drug tested outside of season, so theoretically, we will not be testing kids outside of season. Correct?
Is that right?
Because if my kid's a baseball player, you won't be testing him until the spring, when he's in season.
That's a great question.
Just a thought that we need to probably look back at our policy and that our procedures are matching our policy. Because it talks about what are the consequences in season versus out of season.
I feel like our athletes are our athletes regardless if they're in season or not. They need to be.
Well,
the
but you don't know
policies-
if you're playing baseball until the spring. I mean, if you don't make the team,
Right, we need to check that.
if you don't make the team in the spring, or if you don't know if you're gonna be playing baseball in the spring, then you
Well,
wouldn't even
I
be in the
think too,
pool.
some of our athletes they're running cross country and they're playing football and they're doubling up on some of their sports, so,
I agree with that.
yeah.
But you may have a pool of kids in the
Sure.
spring who are getting high all, because they aren't telling you that they're going to play baseball in the spring.
and that,
You don't know that.
yeah, another question I have, so is a student in the system one time, whether they're in multiple sports, or, that would be another question, because, then if they are a multi-sport athlete, then their chances of being tested would
My
go
notes
up.
show that you're in there for the number of events that you participate. Do you know that to be true?
You know, I
will
can't
find
give
out.
me a different agenda. I didn't study those numbers and facts for tonight, but I can certainly look at them. I didn't know I was gonna be questioned about this stuff tonight.
It's all right. I'll follow
To be
up.
honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, and since we're questioning, I have one more. If, say someone fails, say they play football and they fail, and then in the spring they want to do cross-country, do we retest them before we allow them into another sport?
It's pretty clear what the policy is, pretty clear on what you have to do to be able to play again.
Okay.
And you are allowed to go back to playing football if you
certain period of time.
meet certain criteria.
Our
You
policy
have to get
outlines
into
that.
a
Clear.
drug counseling program,
clear.
and you have to be tested clean. And if you do those things, you only lose 20% of your season, not 40% of your season.
But you said back to that sport.
Yes.
I'm talking about, are they
Then-
allowed to
then
go
they're-
into another sport?
Yes.
If they failed a drug test while participating in a sport?
And they
as
met
long
the
as they-
criteria.
They met the criteria.
Then
Like
they
if you
can go
do what
back.
you need to do and
They
you
become
lose
real.
Then they get
20%.
to- okay.
But
They
if
can-
if you're at the tail end of a season and you can't get your 20% in, your 20% will hit whether it's track from football or next football.
Okay,
I think it's definitely a policy we probably need to review.
I agree.
And I would love for Aaron to, I mean, he's our guy. I would
Get
love
some-
to get his input and,
I think we just want to make sure that the system is equitable in terms of, participation and,
It's essentially the same system, just a lot less.
right.
Right.
But,
The policy
but
that we
there,
currently follow
but
is
there is a
MSP.
random selection that's happening
No
now
question.
that wasn't happening before.
Totally random, yeah.
Yeah,
We're just eliminating bulk and we're decreasing random.
right.
Yeah, but again, those pieces don't fall in the policy. The pieces you're referencing fall in the policy.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Okay.
So would you like that policy then to come to the policy committee for review? Or, I mean, as we checked, it is the current MSBA recommended policy. It's not, we would have to then go against MSBA's recommendation if we want to change that.
I think we're comfortable with that. I mean, it wouldn't hurt for the.
Well, you need to clean up the off-season. If kids
Yeah,
are not gonna be
clean that
tested
up anyway.
off-season, we at least need to take that out of the policy.
Let's bring the policy to the policy committee, we can review, and then the procedures from that, and make sure that we have all the i's dotted and t's crossed, that we have consistency with our folks, so I would.
Wouldn't hurt to
recommend that.
review it and make sure that. it-
Bring that to the policy.
committee meeting, because our next one's not until, I think, August 28th, so.
Is that the next one? Okay. Quarter.
Well, that could be an issue for us because we got to get procedures established for the school year to start.
We would call a special policy committee meeting, that's
Right.
what, that's.
We
what-
could,
That's what I'm saying.
we could.
Yeah, we can do that.
I think we do that.
Okay. Okay.
Everyone should review it and give feedback, please.
Got it.
We'll do it.
That's what I have.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoffman.
Good evening. In my report, I gave an update that Jefferson City High School through the end of April is 40% complete, and Capital City High School is 64%. Dale is here. Dale's our main contact with Nabholz at Jefferson City High School, and they've done an amazing job to get us to 40%. But we've known all along that this summer is the big deal, because we can move students around and do classrooms, but we can't move students around and do kitchen, cafeteria, and gym. And so if you remember when we set the calendar for next year, we moved it back so we could have extra time in the summer. Well, we've also made accommodations here at the end of the year. So on Friday, Dana and her staff went and cleaned out the kitchen. So the remaining 7.5 days, we're doing lunch and breakfast without a kitchen. So today was the first day of doing that. And so without a kitchen, you also don't have a serving line. So I was over there today. They did a great job making a makeshift serving line. And Friday with the kitchen, they served just over 800 students for lunch. And today, without a kitchen, they served 772. So they've done just a great job.
I
Still
heard
have all
the
your help,
menu was impressive too. I did hear that.
and you kept all your help, right? That's good. No luck.
So I was over there at noon today, and the kitchen was already locked off. They were in there doing demolition already. They were laying the floor in the gym, getting that ready. So as soon as students are gone, the building will be shut down, and they'll do asbestos abatement and work to get us ready for August, right, Dale?
Yes.
They have done an amazing job, and so everybody at the high school, I mean, they've been so accommodating. Any questions on that? Transportation, you all know Larry got his CDL. He also encouraged all of us, all the administrators, building building administrators and us to ride a bus and see what it's like to be on a bus. And our last ACDC meeting had a big conversation about what can we do to improve transportation. Next year is our last year with our contract with First Student, but First Student by themselves is not, just finding somebody else is not going to fix anything. People have issues with transportation across the country. And so from that, a group of administrators agreed to help serve on a committee. We're meeting Thursday to talk about what can we do to make things better next year, and whatever we do will improve whether First Student is with us after the contract renewal or if we go a different route. Also, First Student, I'm excited they're going to bring some of their folks into this meeting, because I know they have a lot of frustrations with us on how discipline is handled. So I know that their only recourse is to write a bus ticket, and we have the authority on how to handle that, and it's not handled the same across the board. So they're frustrated a lot of times that they don't have the support they need. We have frustration on our side. So hopefully we can all get in the same room, talk about what we can do to get better. So I'm excited about that going forward.
Great.
Okay.
Jason, one question about that. So as we look at approaching the end of that contract, what is your plan as far as research and evaluation leading up to the negotiation of that contract and how we'll approach that.
I think just as far as doing a full due diligence, I think we have to do a bid, a full RFP process. But at the same time, we're going to do an evaluation of what it looks like to bring it in-house. And that's really scary because it's a tough piece to manage. And so bringing that in-house makes Shelby really nervous, because think of all the HR that you're bringing on with part-time drivers, and Rockwood switched to self-performance a couple years ago, and I talked to their CFO, and they say, you know, we still have the same problems. We still have a hard time recruiting drivers when unemployment's at near zero. So, you know, the issues are, we just have to try and get better.
Yeah.
No matter who's running it.
I hope that, I just want to make sure we back out far enough so that we have plenty
sure.
of time to do that evaluation.
Yeah, it'll be in the fall.
Okay, all right.
Most definitely. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, as far as my update, just a few things. Jason referenced there in the high school and Capital City High School that we are on time and under budget in both of those. So we are excited about that. Brian's going to give an update here on our summer school plans moving forward with that. That's a goal that we want to improve our summer school. We have the bus review. I just made a couple notes. So basically we reviewed with all of our principals on May 1st. Our principals and central office administrators, the time they spent on the bus, of just consistency, and Jason referenced it, consistency across from drivers, from buildings, of having more consistency.
The number you had done.
And so that's something we know that we discuss. This isn't rocket science. Most successful routes are those where the drivers know the kids' names, have a relationship with the families, and have had the time to build relationships. We all know that. And it was just a reminder that our folks, they had discussions with drivers, what was working, what was not. Talked about a school open houses this fall, invite our drivers to our buildings as a possibility, just to improve the communication process between parents, schools, and buses. We had coffee with Larry on the 3rd of May. One thing we shared with faculty council last week, when we have our coffees with Larry, for the most part, it's our community members, and rarely do we have any of our staff members present. So we're going to start this fall rounding with Larry, which is going to be in our buildings. We have 18 buildings, and so we're going to go and have, in a sense, coffee at each of our buildings. We're going to do that once a week, and we have 18 schools. And so if we do it once in the fall and once in the spring, second semester, that'll be 36 times in front of our folks of, hey, what's working? What ideas do you have? What do we need to do to get better? So we're excited about that. So they're scheduling those times.
It probably wouldn't hurt us to, like, as board members, to split up, divvy up those days too. So there's a
Yep.
board member or.
I was just gonna ask if I could ride a bus,
There we go. Sure can.
one that you're not driving.
There we go. Absolutely. It wouldn't be newsworthy. Would have Phil. He wouldn't report that if anything happened. We had our staff appreciation banquet on the 25th of April, and that was a great night. Our Eisinger Teacher of the Year was Regina Rowe. She's a math teacher at the high school. And the Eisinger Educator of the Year, or the Teacher of the Year runner-up, was Jennifer Updegrove. And so we were excited to recognize our staff. We had more of our support staff there this year than we've had in the past. So we did a plus delta when we got back of what we thought went well, what's ideas to get better, and we're just always trying to improve that each year while it was fresh in everybody's mind. So that's all I have at this time. Any questions or anything on any of that?
I do have a question, and I don't know, about the bus committee that you guys are doing. It's our staff and first student staff. Do we have any parents or teachers or?
Not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
We're be happy to do that, but we're just trying to get this together at the end of the year, and everybody's schedules are crazy, so I was amazed I was able to get a time to get as many people as we're gonna get it.
Okay, just curious, thank you.
And I think this first part, as far as with the RFP of making sure, what is it that we're wanting? We feel pretty confident as far as with our the parent input that we've had, of discussions that we've had, that on a scale of 1 to 10, they're probably not giving us a 10. They're probably not doing that across America, to be real honest, but that's no excuse what that looks like. So this, we just wanted, what is it that we're looking for? Let's make sure and take a step back and evaluate how we're currently doing it, what's working, what's not, what do we see as a priority moving forward for that. But we're always open to gathering everybody a part of that and being stronger together.
Can I ask you a really quick question? I'm sorry, it's kind of, are there bus monitors?
So on 20% of that, 25?
Brandon Frank?
Approximately.
About 30% of the routes.
Are we strategic about which buses have monitors?
Right, yes.
Okay.
And that was a discussion item on increasing the number of monitors, and that's something we're considering. It just costs money.
Right.
So, but those, you gotta weigh the pros and cons, potentially to do that, so. Something we'll look at. Good question.
Thank you. Are we finished with that conversation? Dr. Schindler, you gonna give us a summer school program update?
I will. So we are just a couple weeks away from summer school. It's going to be May 28th to June 20th. And we currently have right at around 3,100 students enrolled. If you remember last year at this time, we were kind of pushing for 3,000. We had 2,700 2 years ago. We were shooting for 3,000. We actually hit 3,400 last year. So we're shooting for that again. We're at 31, and Dawn's office would tell you that the last couple of weeks we get a lot more students. So we're still shooting for 3,400 to 3,500 students to enroll. We are last year we did the themed approach. If you recall, through the elementary level, we created themes by grade level, and it seemed to be popular. We got a lot more of our own staff who were willing to come in and teach summer school for us. We didn't have to hire a lot of externals. So we're excited about that, and we actually increased our enrollments. So we believe the themed approach was good. We got feedback from teachers that they liked it being designed for them, so they didn't have to do a lot of pre-work in designing it. So we've done that again, with some changes for this year. We're going to try to get a little bit better. So Mrs. Ross has been actually working on a very nice JCPS handbook that we're using. So what this is going to do is provide us the consistency piece across this district, what summer school looks like, how much time you're spending in reading and in math, and what the activities look like, the curriculum looks like. And so we're excited about having more consistency. We are going to use the themed approach. We have reading specialists at every school who's going to be supporting students that are struggling readers. We also this year are going to be having behavior interventionists in our schools to help support social skills and teaching lessons students that are struggling socially. So excited about that. We also are going to increase our support for the STEM activities. Recall we had them embedded in the activities last year, but we didn't do a really good job with providing the resources that teachers needed to actually do the STEM activities. And so some of the feedback we got was, kind of had to buy all that stuff ourselves, or we didn't have the things we needed. So we've designed what those activities look like, and we're supporting them by providing them the resources that they need to do the STEM activities this year. So excited about upping that. We also this year are going to be doing some assessments with our students so we can start evaluating whether our summer school program is successful in terms of more than just numbers. It's successful with supporting our kids in learning. And so at the K-5 level, we are going to do some pre and post running records on kids to determine if their reading improves during summer school. And at the 6-8, we're going to use our iReady assessment to monitor progress of our students there. So just some of the changes we're going to do this year to try to get better.
Fantastic. Any questions for Dr. Schindler about that?
Does this split look about the same as far as elementary, secondary as last year?
The programming?
No, the enrollment.
No, so right now the few hundred that we're down is middle school and elementary. High school is actually consistent with where we were, but it's our middle school and elementary that, those are usually the ones that come in and enroll the last couple weeks too. So
okay.
We're still on track.
Great.
One thing we ask our folks to do is just look at premier districts, as everyone has their opinion, but does our vision be premier school district of Park Hill, Rockwood, Columbia, North Kansas City, Liberty Parkway, just some other schools, and what are they doing during summer school? What's working, what's not, what would they recommend? So as we look at how can we get better, and just always looking for ideas on that. So
Great.
So thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. So we have before us a membership to the Central Missouri Activities Did you have something else?
No,
Oh, you just
I'm going to ask
listened.
Aaron to come on up. I'm going to let, I think my name was down there, but I'm going to let Aaron give you some information about the conference.
Great. Our new conference. Central
Yeah.
Missouri
Yes.
Conference.
That's right.
Yay.
That's our proposal anyway. So just a quick overview of the proposal. There will be 7 schools, It'll be obviously us in Capital City, Helias, Sedalia, and then all 3 of the Columbia schools, Rockbridge, Hickman, and Battle. So it'll be 7 schools total. Yeah. So, and if teams want to join in the future, that's a possibility. It would require a 6 out of 7 vote from the member schools. Right now, there's a $2,500 a year fee to be in the conference. Our director has said that will probably decrease in the following years, but they want to make sure they had enough money up front to kind of pay for the startup costs and getting the conference going. Some of the benefits: travel is shorter. Kids will be in class more as a result of that because all those schools are close. The ease of scheduling, better crowds and rivalries will be created as a result of the conference. More recognition of our athletes, all conference, and that we'll also have an academic all conference for kids with a 3.5 or higher GPA. There'll be a coach of the year for each activity, and the overall, kind of like the Sears Cup in college, where you total the points from the entire season in all sports, and you have a conference school who is your number 1 school, and your number 2 school, and your number 3 school, and so on and so forth. So it's individual, it's coach related, and it's also school rankings overall at the end of the year. So those are some of the benefits of joining. A few miscellaneous regarding scheduling. I think first and foremost, football, they play 9 games, so 6 of those games would be conference games. We would only have 3 non-conference games. 2 of those would be the first 2 games of the season, and then the last game of the season, the regular season. Excuse me. All schedules will be made about a year out, so there'll be plenty of notice in terms of rostering and scheduling, PR stuff. There will be conference tournaments for individual sports only. So golf, cross country, wrestling, swimming, and track. Those are all individual related sports, so they would have a conference tournament. All other sports would not have a conference tournament. We are proposing to join this conference not next year, but the year after. So 2020 and 2021 is when this would start. And that's all the bullet points I have for now. Questions about joining this conference? It's the Central Missouri Activities Conference, which is the CMAC.
Why the delay? Why the 1-year delay?
I think just to prep. You know, there's so much to, scheduling is the biggie, really.
So the CMAC conference will start next year, just not with us, or?
No.
Okay,
The CMAC in general won't start until the year after next.
got it.
August 2020, right?
Fall of
Correct.
August 2020.
2021. Yep.
So,
That makes more sense.
just one from Capital City. This fall we'll have freshmen and sophomores competing the varsity level. They'll compete in all varsity sports except football, I believe.
That's right.
But then the fall of 20, they'll have freshmen, sophomores, and juniors when the conference begins.
Got it.
So going into it, just knowing that.
More,
That
they'd
was
be more
senior class.
competitive.
Any new sports or eliminated sports from our current conference, or is it exactly the same?
No, it's the same. Yeah, we're not in a conference currently, but all the MSHA played sports will be the same sports that compete in the CMAC. Yep.
I was gonna say, this doesn't change our relationship with MASHA in any way.
It does not, in no way, shape, or form. There are certain sports that we don't compete in, like swimming. At least 4 schools in the conference must compete in a particular activity in order for it to be in the conference.
Okay.
And there are 4 in swimming, so that's one sport that we would not compete in the conference.
All right.
Yeah.
And if there was a new sport that was recommended or introduced, then it would have to come before the conference and be approved to be included.
To be included into the conference, it would have to be a MSHA-approved sport.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As far as officials, does this change, is it still a responsibility of the whole school to contract for officials, or does the conference get involved in any way with contracting for
Yeah,
officials?
nothing will change with officials. We'll all do that locally. The home team typically sets all that up, and
Okay.
that will not change in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Are you excited about this?
I am. I think it's going to be pretty intense, especially we're going to be playing Helias in football, which obviously has never happened.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you put that into a conference setting where there's a conference champion. It's going to be intense. And I think it's going to create enormous crowds. much bigger than they are now because of these rivalries. Conferences, as you guys know, always create tremendous rivalries, and we've been missing that for a long time. And so I think from a fan perspective, a competitive perspective, a rivalry perspective, just an enthusiasm standpoint in terms of school spirit and everything, I think it's a big deal.
I agree, and I love seeing I love seeing some other things in here too, like dance and speech and debate.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, some, not just football, basketball.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's really
So it's
cool.
awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait for the teams.
And I bet you want to make the motion to accept it.
I do. I would
Awesome.
love to make that motion.
I made
I would
them
love-
for pom-poms.
I would love to second it. It's exciting. Thank you so much,
Beth,
Aaron.
thank you.
I know you probably put a lot of work into
A
this. so
motion
thank
and a
you.
second. Do we have any further discussion about the CMAC? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Aaron.
It's exciting stuff.
It is exciting.
Okay, Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Jefferson City Memorandum of Understanding.
2 years ago, we went from a mentoring program we were operating in-house, and Big Brothers Big Sisters agreed to come in and take that on. The agreement that's before you is almost identical to the agreement that we signed 2 years ago. It has been a great partnership. They've taken our program, kept it going, and made it go even better. So I think it's a great partnership that I'd recommend that we continue. So be happy to take any questions. It's a 2-year agreement at the same rate that we've been contributing the last 2 years. So it's built into the budget already.
Yeah. I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
I'm just doing what I'm asked here. Steve Bruce could not be here today, but he said he wants me to relay his 100% commitment to the continuing our fiscal and programmatic support of the mentoring program per the revised MOU Jason has proposed. It's very special to him. He is a mentor and he served on the executive board, and he's very proud of the new beginning and the partnership we've created 2 years ago. So he just wanted to say. Anyone else have any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I would
Aye.
Oh,
abstain.
and then Lori's going to abstain.
Okay.
Scott said aye, so motion passes. Yay. All right, fantastic.
What's involved?
Okay.
You're in your court.
Okay, Scott said aye on the last one too.
I got you, Scott. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so now we are going to award a bank bid.
Yeah, unfortunately, by statute, we have to do this every 5 years. And I say unfortunately because our current terms are very favorable. With the yield curve as flat as it is, we're getting 37 basis points above the 90-day T-bill. So to get that kind of rate, you have to go out pretty far on the yield curve as far as years. But by statute, we have to do this, and it's time. We have 2 excellent banks. We're currently with Hawthorne Bank. Both of them gave fantastic proposals, but the proposal from Central Bank, as I outlined in the packet, has a more favorable interest rate. So the way we do it, we guarantee them that we'll keep $15 million, and so that way they can structure how they're going to collateralize and make money. And then with that, they don't charge us fees, and then they guarantee us an interest rate based on that first $15 million. And then they give us an option on what we do above $15 million. And the rate that Central proposed on both the 15 million and the above 15 million was better. And then we also have the ability above 15 million to go out and invest that money. And so recently it hasn't been worthwhile to go out and try and find investments because we couldn't beat our current rate just by keeping it with the bank agreement with Hawthorne. But going forward, we're going to have to be much more active in managing that amount above 15 million to get an interest rate similar to what we've been getting recently. So recommendation is to approve Central Bank for our banking services.
When will that take effect?
July 1. So we do it now to give us time to transition, and it's quite an undertaking to do that.
I can imagine.
And do they provide investment consultation services for
Absolutely.
the additional
They do,
amounts over
right.
and above?
So they do,
And there's
then
no
we also,
fee
they
associated
do.
with it?
If they manage it, there's a fee that they would charge. I think
Okay.
it's 20 basis points. So we have to see, are we better off going out and trying and find investments on our own? through bidding out CDs and other types of options, or just having them manage it for that basis point fee.
Okay.
Someone gonna make a
I will
motion?
make the motion.
Someone wanna second that?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank
motion
you.
passes. Next one on the list is Blackboard contract, Ryan Burns.
She's not singing. She was singing earlier and you missed it.
Oh, well, I heard her at the last board meeting outside, remember?
It's a nasty habit I have yet to break. So I wanted to present to you this evening the contract for Blackboard. This would essentially consolidate many of our existing communications tools. Right now, we're using multiple companies. Blackboard is our vendor of choice for our website hosting, but they also offer other communications platforms that we utilize currently with School Messenger, including mass notification and what I consider to be a much upgraded mobile app that we could use. In addition to a web accessibility monitoring tool, which technically we have to work on getting in compliance with some recent federal regulations regarding website accessibility. So I think one of the major benefits of consolidating all of these tools with Blackboard, as you'll see in my overview I provided, is the create once, publish everywhere kind of feature that allows you to currently on the morning of a snow day, if we have 15 minutes to get a message out or a school lockdown scenario, we have to go to 3 or 4 different tools and kind of type that message, ensure that it's accurate, copy and paste into an email, into a different program, into social media, and this will basically allow us with the one touch of a button to enter a single message and then post it everywhere. Mass notification goes to parents, phones, text messages, email addresses, to our website, straight to our social media platforms. And one major benefit to their mass notification tool is that currently School Messenger requires a 2-step opt-in order to receive text messages for parents, and Blackboard will automatically opt all parent and guardians into their tool. You can opt out if you want. We hope that most people don't, but it will just create, we have a lot of havoc on times when we send out messages of parents calling and wondering why they haven't gotten the messages, if they haven't noticed, if they haven't opted in yet. So I think that will be a huge benefit for us to reach more of our 10,000 member audience that way. And it also will allow members of the community to sign up to receive certain types of mass notification. We have a lot of people that ask us now on a snow day if they can sign up to receive our notification if school is canceled, and the current tool doesn't allow for that, but this tool would allow community members to, or grandparents, or just other family members that aren't listed as that primary or secondary household contact, to get messages as well. There's a lot of new features with the mobile app that I provided, which I think will be exciting. It will take a big push for us from the communications department at the start of school to educate our stakeholders about how to access and download that mobile app. If we can get a push and get more people using the app, then I think that that will be a very effective tool as well. Just with the number of people using smartphones nowadays, that's kind of a no-brainer to be able to send the messages straight to their mobile device as well through an app, a push notification if they sign up. It's a cost savings of $1,500 in year 1 because there are some startup fees, and then a $5,000 in the 2 following years of the 3-year contract. And that does include, like I said, the website accessibility tool, which is a $9,000 per year cost. We currently don't have a tool for that at all. So it's more like a $14,000 a year savings because of the tremendous discount that Blackboard is offering for combining their website features with all of their other tools. And I think that I feel confident in the customer service that we've received from them. They have over 1,200 school customers across the country, many of them with 20,000 plus students that are much larger than us, and so they come highly recommended in the school public relations industry. And I guess with that, I would ask for your approval of the contract or any questions.
I think you answered all the questions that were coming
But we're
up.
currently using them for what portion?
We are currently using them for our website, so they host our website. And that's the only tool we're using, School Messenger, for the mass notification and for the mobile app. So we'd be moving over the mobile app and the mass notification with Blackboard all one tool. It won't require us to retrain any of our teachers on the web editing portion. It should be fairly intuitive for those that have already been trained up to use School Messenger. It should be a seamless transition over to that.
When you say mobile app, are you talking about Campus Portal?
No.
Will this house Campus Portal as well?
One of the features of the mobile app is that you can access any of the other tools that are used by other departments. So if the library wants to send people notifications about books that are due, or food services wants to connect to their tool where you can pay your lunch balances, all through a single touch through the app.
So My School Bucks will be done through,
Yes.
but not what we're accessing through Campus Portal.
My understanding is you could even access Campus Portal through the app.
Okay.
If you're logged into the app, you can, and which another feature was that if you don't have a Twitter account, but the district is tweeting, you can see the social media, all of our posts through the app without having to join and get a social media account for those that don't want to for any reason.
But even if a parent doesn't download the app, they'll still get that text message?
Yes,
Great.
yes. They would still get the text message, the phone call, the email. Ideally, we'd love to get them to download the app as well. And several principals that I talked to thought that that would be a nice new feature, because so many of their parents, if either they don't check their email on a regular basis, they don't respond to phone calls, they're somewhat responsive to text messages, but they have that mobile phone that's a smartphone, and they can, if we can get enough of them to use the app and get in the habit of doing that, I think that that will be a benefit for us.
It's unbelievable that you've been like doing all these separate things.
Different steps, yeah.
This is way more
I don't-
efficient.
I'd like to move, and then I'd like to speak in favor of the motion to adopt this contract. I'd make
You
that
have a
motion.
motion?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion?
So just from the research I've done, there's a couple of things that I think it's a great move. One is the security aspect of it. So in all the research that I look at, they've got a great track record on security, and in the world that, you know, I live in, that's a big deal. So I think it's a big plus. And then they're just, you know, their market share is significant in terms of the scope and the size of the districts and schools that they handle. So I think it's a great move to consolidate everything under this one platform.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ray.
Good luck. Have fun.
Okay, Frank, Summit Mechanical, Cedar Hill.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, we've got a list here, so we'll just run down through it. Cedar Hill Elementary, bathroom plumbing, the upstairs, well, they call it the upstairs, but it's the ground level floor. Boys restroom has some issues with the water pipes as well as the sanitation in there. And so Summit Mechanical was low bid to come in, knock out a wall, put in new piping, revent it, and then install new water closets and 4 new urinals in the boys' restroom at the amount of $10,870.
Want to take each one separately?
If you'd like, I mean, because there might be questions on some of the other ones.
Motion for Summit Mechanical to work at Cedar Hill for $10,870.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Lawson Elementary.
All right, Lawson Elementary, some time ago, we came back with Roger Linneman to come in and do some work for the disconnect units on the HVAC rooftop units. And this was his recommendation. We went out to bid. Rehagen Electric was our low bid at $14,980 to put 56 disconnects and repair or replace 12 waterproof GFI outlets on the roof of Lawson. This is the beginning of a long project on the roof of Lawson, but this one's an important one for the people who have to get up there and work on it. Currently, they disconnect the power inside the building and then go up on the roof. If somebody flipped the power on while they're working on it, it could be an issue for them. So what this does is put that disconnect on those units, 2 disconnects per unit, 28 units on top. So 56 disconnects at $14,980. Bring this to you.
Do I have a
approval.
motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, North Elementary, kitchen
All right.
plumbing repair.
Kitchen plumbing repair at North Elementary. What we're doing is the sewage pipe in the floor has collapsed and it just drains very slow. There's nothing else that we can do with it at this point other than replace it. So what we're going to do is dig out the floor, also run plumbing for a dishwasher up there. I think this is probably the first time that's been said, but dishwasher up at North Elementary. And so they'll build a water sink in the floor for the drain for that. And then, so they're going to do that for $10,525. We did go to bid on that, and Summit Mechanical was a low bid on that as well.
What does base bid plus alternate mean?
Alternate, we're not, that was the FS beneath dishwasher, I'm sorry, for another $1,500 for a total of $10,525. The alternate was just a pending whether we were going to be able to get the dishwasher squared away and where it was going to go. And so with that, that just netted cost onto that. The added cost is mainly in the piping because when you're coming out of a dishwasher, the temperature requires you to go with steel line before you get to your PVC lines.
Just recently found that out, yes.
And is
PVC pipe does not work for that.
No,
is
it
it
doesn't.
correct that this will allow us to quit using disposable at this school and go to reusable trays? Okay.
Correct, yeah. We'll get rid of the styrofoam or whatever.
And they'll
Okay.
probably have a dishwasher grand opening at North School. 'Cause
That's pretty exciting.
Ribbon
That's
cutting.
excitement. I mean,
Kitchen staff will fund
maybe
that
small
too.
to some of us, but
Yeah, it's huge.
Large, yes.
It's big for them. I mean,
Right,
it's,
then you probably want to make the motion.
sure, why not? I'll make that motion.
All
I'll
right.
second.
All right, any further discussion about this contract at North Elementary School? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Thomas Jefferson.
all right, Thomas Jefferson, we went to bid for electrical upgrades for 2 mobile classrooms that will be positioned on that east side, right? I believe it's on the east side, back behind the gym of the school. What it's going to require is a new line, about 100 yards of electricity coming all the way out the back to power those 2 trailers. There's going to be existing feeder, gearbox, as well as a new transformer in that very back closet next to the door. And then that'll go outside for a panel board that'll operate the 2 mobile classrooms outside of there. Just for those electrical upgrades, Stokes Electric, we went out to bid and they were the low bid at $27,500.
And those mobile classrooms are gonna fit on that back side of the gym?
They
like
will,
when
one
you're
on
looking
either
at
side of the
football field?
sidewalk, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
What are they for?
More room than I thought.
What are we housing in the,
Jason, what are we putting in there?
what are we housing in those 2 mobile classrooms?
At TJ, that's because we added the extra sections of reading, so we went from 4 cores to 5, so we're adding 8 additional teachers, so we needed 8 additional classrooms, so we're also dividing the commons, so we're building a wall and dividing the commons, so we'll have classes in the commons, and
Cause they're
the
busting
building
at the
is
seams.
just out of space.
And they have a little over 100 more students than what Lewis and Clark
Right.
does.
Do you know what classes will be out in the trailers yet?
I know Gary's worked with both of them, and Lewis and Clark is trying to find a way to manage inside.
Right.
I mean, there were pros and cons. You can decongest the inside by moving students outside. So they made the decision at Lewis and Clark, and they do have about 100 fewer students, that they wanted to try and keep everyone inside.
Mm-hmm.
But TJ, through their leadership team, couldn't really see how they could make it work without adding the 2 trailers.
And where the placement is of the mobile classrooms, they won't be having to walk out and I say that, what we're doing.
Well, they will walk out in weather. What they'll do is come through the doorway there in the hallway, and the classrooms will be on either side of the sidewalk. And then as they come out there, the ramps and stairs will go right to the classrooms. So they won't be walking around the classrooms, and then they'll be right between the building and the classrooms. And then there's even enough space there as far as fire code. What they recommend is 25 feet between the trailer and the building, and there's still room even on the other side of the hill.
Okay.
And that was part of the decision that Lewis and Clark made, is there's really not a good place to put the trailers. So where we told them they could have the trailers, it wasn't near an acceptable situation is what we have with TJ.
And our long-term plan is not, long-term solution is not to have trailers at LC or TJ, but right now, for a temporary, that's something we feel we need to do.
So you're saying TJ split up the commons to create classrooms
We're
and
doing
they're
that
getting,
at Lewis Park also.
okay, okay. Wow. All commons?
All commons.
Thanks. All right, does anyone want to make a motion for Stokes Electric at Thomas Jefferson?
Also move.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and so now we have a contract for 2 mobile classroom units out of Columbia, Missouri. Assume we don't have anybody in Jefferson City who does mobile classrooms.
Classrooms Inc. Was the low bid on those. At $59,768 for 2 mobile classrooms. We looked at all the other classrooms that were out there available. They have some new ones, really nice new ones, but that was not necessary. And these are nice. They're in good shape. I don't know how old they are as far as what year they are, but John had personally went out and walked through them, went under them, and looked at them. And so the gentleman gave us a pretty decent price on them at about $28,000 each, and so the total at $59,768 for 2 mobile classrooms. And just looking for questions or an approval, please.
What about the mobile units at the high school?
They'll need those next year. They won't
still
have any
gonna need
fewer
them.
students at the high school next year, plus the upper floor of Nichols will not be completed at that time either.
Okay, so they're not being moved at all then?
No.
They'll have the same number of students next year that they have this year.
Right.
And then we still have construction going on for the first semester, so they
So you
for sure
build
need
your
them next
remaining-
year, and we're having discussions, they think they may need them even the following year. So,
What do we do with them when we're done? Because we own them, right?
Sell them.
Okay.
Sell them back to this Classrooms Inc.
To this
who
company.
Oh, do you
goes to
sell them
some
back
other
to them?
school district who needs them, right? Half of them, I know.
Yeah.
Is that, is this company where we got the high school units from?
Yes, this is the same company that we got our other ones from as well.
So they will buy them back at like half price?
Yeah, you're
We have to
lucky.
bid them.
Yeah,
Maybe
we have
put
to
them out
bid
to
them, but
bid.
they'll buy them, or one of their competitors will buy them. They'll all bid on them, but.
Are these 2 coming
you willing to
equipped with
buy one?
restrooms?
No.
No, there is no restrooms in
I
these
just thought, hey,
trailers.
we get a
But there should be
student on that.
restrooms right there, because that's where the locker room is.
Right, they're within 500 feet of the trailers, so the restrooms
So
were
not
not
like a
required.
JC.
Right, there are restrooms right there
All right.
at TJ. So do you want to make a motion for
I'll
this?
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Can I ask
very
a quick
much.
question,
Thank you very
Lorelai,
Yes.
about long-range planning?
Yes?
How often do we get an update? This just brings up the fact that we've got some buildings that are busting at the seams. And, you know, we redid our boundaries, dumping an extra 33 kids into TJ. And so now we've got 100 more kids there, but how often does that long-range planning committee update us or meet?
Lori, would you like to on the committee
Me
or myself?
Brenda's out there too.
Brenda?
Brenda, would you like to give us an update?
Well,
You
I
love
just,
surprising
just.
Brenda.
like,
We have
what
a
was it?
facilities
I
committee.
mean, I could, or
Yeah.
Larry could, I bet Brenda's here.
I'll start. and
Brenda's
then
facilitating.
The intelligent people
She
will
is.
chime in. So the Facilities Committee has had 3 meetings, and we have begun our look. We've actually toured all of the buildings to get a sense of what's going on in the buildings, and we've also surveyed our staff and asked them for their input and their priorities. And I'm excited because North, one of their #1 priorities was a dishwasher. So yay, look, my Facilities Committee has already solved the problem. Excellent work. I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that. No. But, so we did get great feedback from all of our staff, and the Facilities Committee is currently reviewing that, as well as some other reports that we had together. So we anticipate bringing something back to the group by October with what we feel needs to be done. Did I miss any of our highlights? Survey, tours?
And one other element they brought up with regards to activities and athletics, and we really didn't feel it was the task of the committee. The task given to the committee, and then I feel like the board okay or gave an approval, was to consider K through 8 or pre-K through 8 spacing options to consider that we hope to have by October. We would like to, with your okay, looking at going for considering athletic and activity facility-wise that are really kind of a different umbrella than just to address the classroom enrollments of our pre-K through 8.
And potentially that would be a different committee with a different makeup
With a
of
different
folks that we
folks.
would
The
select.
facility committee, in my opinion, didn't have all the right
Gotcha.
key players there. I mean,
We have no activities or
Right.
athletics representation on the committee at this point.
So it would be a separate.
Okay.
And our task was the overcrowdedness in K through 8.
Got it.
So we will get a full report in October, hopefully.
Yes, but we'd be happy to give you an interim next month even.
But we would like to, and with your blessing here, to looking at a committee to look at the long-term facility plans with regards to athletic fields and activities. So if you're okay with that, not that we need a formal approval, just that we plan on moving forward with that. Lori, I think, would you agree with that as far as part of the committees?
Yes.
So if you're okay with that.
After this task.
No.
In addition,
Not after
we would
this.
just run a
Started
separate
at
committee.
some time
Yes.
here, but the number
They-
one priority is the, our classroom.
Absolutely.
Pre-K through 8, yes, that
They
is number
wanted
one.
to kind of intertwine and it wasn't the right.
We picked these people for their ability to help us with that particular task, so we didn't feel it was fair to ask them to.
We had no one
To
from
move on.
the athletics or choir, band, or anyone around the table. So
So it's moving forward, so we'll kind of start that here, looking at following it with the number one priority, our pre-K through 8 spacing needs.
Fantastic.
Did I for anything else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
Let me ask that question.
Great
Thank you,
question.
Brenda.
Okay, so we're moving on to policies. First read, or are we doing a first read on these, or is this just approved?
Some of them we have a first read, some we're proposing waiving the second read and
Feel free
approving
to
tonight.
take the floor on these.
Okay, so there's a number of policies. You have a document which is a policy updates overview. It's a summary of the changes for a majority of the policies, which are MSBA policies that do not, they're either implementing legislation that was passed, they're bringing down changes that do not require a modification in our procedures or guidelines. So I'd entertain that we can, I think we have to act on them individually, but if we can run through those, if you'll look at the policy updates document, it has a summary of those changes, and I would entertain motions to waive a second read and approve these tonight. So if we can take those, I'll start with BBB, which is school board elections.
So moved.
I think you could probably.
We can do them all together.
Can we do them all together?
Sure.
We have. Okay, that's great. Then,
Can I ask some questions?
yes,
So these all went through the policies committee,
yes, that's correct.
and are all of these related to legal changes, or are any of these policy changes just local decisions?
All of these that are included in this document with the summary are all MSBA policies handed down that implement legislative changes that take place at the state level
Okay.
and are
So these
coming
are
down.
Or
things
language changes
Or
that is
language
recommended
changes
by MSBA.
that are recommended by MSB, and conferring with our administration. It doesn't change anything in terms of our regulations and procedures.
But we do have full policy service, so if they make a recommendation and we don't like the language, we can make it fit for us. So some of them, we have made amendments to, I believe. But as a committee, we've approved this list.
Right. The way that they're presenting, the way we're presenting them to you tonight, they've been approved by the policy committee, and the policy committee is bringing them to you with a recommendation to approve.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that these be adopted on the first reading and that we waive the second reading of all policies as submitted. Do I need to recite them?
In item K, because we aren't addressing item L yet, right?
Right. all
Just the
that are
first,
listed
just
in
the first
A.
item, yeah.
So starting with BBB
Starting with
through KB.
BBB through
KB.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll second.
Okay. Any more questions or further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, so now the policies in item L. Ken?
Correct. So we have some additional policies which we are asking for first read. So if you look at those, the first one of those would be the media guideline for school board members, which would be numbered or the reference for it would be BBF number 1. So it would fall under board ethics, the current board ethics policy. And you'll see it there. It includes, again, was presented to the policy committee, was reviewed, discussed by them. This one is coming with the recommendation this be our first read, and we would present it for a second read and approval at our next meeting. Any questions about it?
No.
Okay. Then we're not asking for any action at this time. All right, the others would be EF and do we need to speak to it? Anything that needs to be explained? Jason, is that one that we're doing the first read?
I think it could go either way.
We could go, okay.
So on this one, we're modifying a policy. I see some lines crossed out. Is that
So
just
they
the
were
only
all
change?
modifying, so.
So these all exist, but these are modifications.
Correct.
BBF one is a brand new policy, but other than that, I
Okay.
believe they're all.
EF simply eliminates some language which refers to tickets
Yeah.
for students which are not used any
Okay.
longer. We don't use tickets for school lunch, so it's just eliminating some language. So I would entertain a motion to waive the second read and adopt EF.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adopt EF, waiving the second read. Any discussion about that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right.
Next one is JO.
JO, student records. And again, I believe the language here, Dr. Schindorf, is that just, again, some
That's language.
striking of language that,
So we have a data governance committee that's been meeting for several months, and that is language that that committee is recommending, I believe, is the JO. Is that the data?
That was the student number
Student
one.
records, yeah.
right, it includes
Things that we
some
don't-
student identifying information that, again, we don't track or keep. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we are, again, entertaining a recommendation to waive the second read and go ahead and adopt that.
So
current.
moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to pass JO, waiving the second read. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
All right, next one is
DK payment process?
DK payment process, correct. And Jason, as I recall, this is simply incorporating language to be compliant with our current process, correct?
Practices, correct.
All right, so our current practices are what they need to be compliant with all the state and federal regulations, but the language here is being changed to simply change some wording like suppliers to invoices and things like that, so.
And all payments, by policy, have to be approved by the board. And we get exceptions in this policy of what can be paid between board meetings. We have a month, and so something needs to be paid. These are exceptions. And then we bring those to you for ratification at the next meeting. So you're still approving them, but we're just paying them. And so this, we used to have 12 exemptions, and we added 13, 14, 15, and 16 onto that list. So that's the major change.
All right, so we would propose waiving the second reading and go ahead and adopting that.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to adopt DK and waive the second reading. Any discussion or questions?
So 13 through 16 are new.
Correct.
Correct.
And remind me again of, so those are exemptions?
So we make payments to students, so we have scholarships that are within our books. And so students get scholarships and they may need payment to their university, and
Okay,
so we
I
don't.
get that one. Okay.
We are self-insured for medical insurance. We don't actually pay the bills, but our third-party administrator does, and they pay them daily, probably, don't they? At least weekly. So we can't wait for a month to pay medical bills. So that's 15, I believe, sorry.
Okay, I'm good. Thanks.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, and DJF is, again, a purchasing policy. And again, striking some language, which Jason, as I understand, puts us in compliance with current practice.
So Denise has done a great job. The federal rules for purchasing requirements are changed. And so she's done a good job of making our policy go into compliance with federal purchasing regulations. Anything else?
Plus matching our policy, our procedures.
Right, correct.
Okay. So we would entertain, again, a motion to waive second reading and go ahead and implement and adopt this currently.
The same with DJAFB, that's the administrative procedure, we don't need that approved.
Right. So we're,
moved.
second.
Someone? Someone want a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve DJF and waive second reading. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right.
Okay.
And next we have,
APA.
We don't need to approve that one. That's
Okay.
just a procedure,
oh, right.
right?
Right.
Jason, correct?
DGFAP1, that's just the administrative procedure that doesn't need approval, that goes with that policy.
Right. EHBA,
It's Brian's cell phone.
correct? Brian?
policy. Personal devices.
All right. Again, can you give us an explanation on that one?
Yes, we currently do not have a policy for personal devices, so this is MSB's recommended policy for districts who are implementing making decisions how to use personal devices in the classroom.
Okay.
So this is the policy I referenced.
This is the one you referenced earlier in your discussion, okay, about personal device, okay.
It allows us to create the procedures.
So are we recommending on this one that we do a first read and a second read, or would you propose that we waive the second read to go ahead
It's
and,
MSBA recommended language, we didn't change anything, so I was really
and this will allow you to go ahead and get the procedures in place then?
I'll
Okay,
make that motion.
so I entertain to
So are we waiving the second
waive
reading?
second read and adopt EHBA.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, so, I'm sorry, DJK does anybody have DJK?
Mm-mm.
It's not listed anywhere.
Good.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the next one is the discipline policy relating to the cell phones. Is that correct?
GGR.
JGR1.
Is actually all discipline, and the reason that one came up is when we were looking at technology misconduct consequences, MSBA brought up to us that it needed to be updated with the language, and so it updates more than just technology, it updates all of the pieces that we read through it. There's nothing significant, and the language changes, how you prove certain offenses and those types of things. So, but more importantly, it also provides us the technology misconduct consequences we need.
Okay. So we're just cleaning up and revising and,
To be compliant with the EHBA. Okay.
do we need a first
All
read
right.
on this one? Anybody want a first read on this one to review for
I
next?
really want to first
Yeah,
read on this one.
me too.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
gonna do a first read on JGR1 and we'll bring that back next meeting for approval. Second read and approval for revisions, whatever we need, okay? All right.
All
so-
right. Everybody okay with that?
Everybody okay with that? Okay, so the next one is EBBC,
EBBC.
Nursing Mothers.
And Shelby, do you want to speak to this? It's strictly just to accommodate,
This isn't a required policy, it's a recommended policy. It just expands what we currently have. We offer through FSLA standards, providing opportunities for nursing mothers, but this opens it up to students, parents, community members having a place where they can do what they need to do. One of the reasons that we looked in this policy is we had some teachers, 9 as a matter of fact, at some reason, that were expectant mothers. They wrote a grant so that they could have a space in Capital City High School for nursing mothers. So in order to get this grant, we had to have a policy in place. So when I contacted MSBA, this is what other districts use, so.
Do we,
Yeah.
can we waive second reading on this one and just approve it, or would anybody like a first read?
I believe our consensus was at the policy committee that this is the right thing to do,
Yes,
whether
for sure.
MSBA said we should or not. This is the right thing to do,
I make a
so,
motion that we waive.
yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to adopt EBBC on waive the second read. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we got through all of those things. Now we have future dates listed. Last day of school is May 22nd, but there is no school on May 17th for the state track meet, right? The adult education and literacy graduation is the 23rd, coffee with Larry on June 7th, regular board meeting June 10th, budget approval meeting June 24th. We switched the July board meeting from the 8th to the 15th because of the 4th of July holiday. There's no way these people can get the financials ready for us until then. And then the next board meeting will be August 12th. Do we know what day opening session is? Do we have that set?
Yes.
Friday. 3rd.
Friday, August 23rd, opening session. All right, then we have a September board meeting. September has also been changed because the Elias Foundation Golf Tournament is September the 9th, and Larry would like to participate in that as part of his community outreach. If you want to do that, so we're going to change that to September 15th.
It's actually the 16th.
Oh, the
As I
16th?
look, it says 15th here.
Okay, 16th. Okay, so it's September 16th. We could come on Sunday, I guess. I don't know. Right after church? Okay, so who wants to make the motion to go into closed session?
Motion to open to enter into closed meeting by roll call vote pursuant to chapter 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri, sections 1, legal actions, 3, hiring, firing, disciplining, 13, individually identifiable personnel records, and 14, records which are protected from disclosure by law.
Need a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Here.
Lindsay.
Lori.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
And Kim.
Yes.
Scott, have you on Polycom?
I don't think he can vote.
I don't think you can vote to go into closed, but
Okay.
he's here.
It's nice to hear
But
your
you're here.
voice.
So we'll take a 5-minute break and then come back. Are we meeting in here?
Yeah.
I believe so,
Okay,
right here.
we're going to come back here in 5 minutes for closed session.
Perfect.
Okay. Fantastic.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you. Thank you.